It's Tuesday night. Jason Joyce from Madison, Wisconsin. Marnie Glickman from the Bay Area. Marnie, how are you?
I am so happy to be here. I enjoyed the calmness of the past week in my life, but I'm ready for 2021.
Same. Mm-hmm. This is the last podcast. This is the last KHOP88 of 2020. And we're moving on to the new year in style.
Yes.
Joining us tonight, Casey Lunetta, Jennifer Maracek, Lisa Stuppy. Thank you guys so much for being with us. I want to know why how did this trio happen for this show? Were you guys like inseparable in high school? What's the story?
Oh, goodness. I would say, Casey, you and we've been friends since kindergarten. So I've known you that's really amazing, for 90% of my life, which is incredible. And yeah, we've hung out all through high school for sure. I'm trying to think. And then Lisa, you were in my wedding, and we've just stayed in contact ever since.
And we covered geography early on off the live, but Casey is in the Portland area right now. Jennifer is in Phoenix, and Lisa, you're in State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell us how you got State College. Is sort of like you have to really be wanting to go to State College to be in State College.
Yeah, might have been some questionable decision making on my part. I actually was out west with these two. I mean, geographically pretty far apart. I lived in Boise, Idaho for many years, and my job brought me to Penn State. So I work at Penn State, and I sort of chuckle. I now live in a state where voting actually matters, or my vote actually matters.
Yeah.
I'll put a caveat there. My vote actually mattered here. And I was kind of, was telling people, I'm like, okay, when they show the map of Pennsylvania, that little blue county right in the middle of the state, that's where I live. It's like literally you go like 4 minutes away from anywhere in State College, and it's a different world out there. It's very rural. It's very pretty. It's heavily forested, and they call them mountains, but those of us who lived in the West, no, they're not. But yeah, so I've been here just over 3 years, and I was telling Casey and Jen, as we were texting, going, should we do this? Should we not do this? Should we do this? You do it. I'm like, hey, we want to get back to Boise, so make it a little bit easier to keep, to see each other, maybe.
Casey, how did you get yourself out to Portland? And how long?
It's not Portland, Jason. I have.
Okay, sorry.
West Lynn is a different town. It's in. Would you say the metro area, Casey?
Yeah, it's a suburb. It's about 12 miles south of the city. Mm-hmm. I have two boys. I have two high school teenagers, so we moved here because of the schools, but I haven't lived in Minnesota since the 90s, and I met my husband, and then he got a job in Florida. So we moved to Florida for 7 years, and we lived in Palm Beach County, like in 2000 until 2003, until 2006, sorry. And I just didn't want to raise my family there. It just didn't feel right to me. So my husband, John, and I decided on 5 cities that we could agree on living in. Portland is one of them, and my husband is in he works for PGE here, which is the power company, so that's his line of work, and so he got a job here, and they flew us up here, and I fell in love with it. I've been here since 2006, and we really, really like it. I have a great community, and my kids are happy. My kids play hockey here, which is funny, and now we're down to 1 ice rink in the entire city of Portland. 1. So we really have to work hard for my boys to play hockey, but that's pretty fun. So that's kind of how we got here. It was just by choice, and I really, really like it. My whole family's still back in Minnesota, so I do get back there at least once a year.
That's cool, because that intentional, we're going to find just a place that we want to live, and then we'll go there, and then we'll figure it out. And I remember we were right. We were just right out of college, early 20s still. And Marnie lived in Portland, and Marnie was like appealing to me that I needed to come out and live in Portland. It's great. We'll just, you can figure it out. I'll find you a job somewhere. It'll be great. You remember that, Marnie?
No, not at all. Not one bit. But I believe that. I love Oregon so much. My daughter was born there and hope to move back there sometime soon. How about you, Jen? Why are you a Westerner?
I got as far away from Minnesota as I could. When I graduated high school, I am not a cold weather person. That was miserable. So I went as hot as I possibly could, which you can't get hotter than the desert. Mm-hmm. So I've been in Arizona ever since I graduated from high school. So it's amazing that it's 30 something years that I've been out here. And some of my family went to the Seattle area, and my husband, now ex-husband, we got transferred up to Seattle for about 6 months for business, and both of us couldn't handle the rain and the wet. I mean, it's gorgeous. Once the sun comes out finally, it's absolutely spectacular. But I don't think I could ever live actually in the rain, where it rains 9 months out of the year, kind of like living in Minnesota where it's, below 0 9 months of the year. I much prefer, I'm a desert rat, as I like to say, going out and hiking in the middle of the day in the summer is kind of what I like to do. So it's kind of where I am, and I've always been. I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, none of us have lived in Minnesota. Like, I moved when I was 24, maybe. Like, yep. Of the three of us, we all haven't lived there in a long time.
Yeah, that's for sure pretty interesting to have a group of 3 friends, and you really are spread out in all corners of the country right now. So the question that we wanted to make sure to ask, Patty Hegre Walters planted this in the event very early. She got this in quickly. Jennifer, you hosted parties in high school, perhaps? And I don't know what was unique about them. Maybe they were just very out of hand.
You know what? We actually had a system down. I mean, I can't even tell you how well we had this plan. We were like Navy SEALs. My mom would go out on a date, and seriously, and my little sister would watch to see when she pulled away and like give the signal, and we'd all come to our house and we'd have a party, and we time it perfectly. Where then, I don't know, 10:30 or something like that, we would all break down the party and everybody would leave. And I'd have the house clean before she got home, and no one knew until once. Until once. And unfortunately, it did kind of get out that we did have parties every single weekend at my house, and it got a little out of control. And it was after a football game. I do remember that. And I don't remember obviously exactly when it happened. It was sophomore year though. And I remember thinking about 10:30, 11 o'clock, well, I better come upstairs to start, cleaning the house. And I saw somebody dismantling the pyramid that was in the middle of the dining room table. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. Somebody's helping me clean. And all of a sudden I was like, oh God, it's my mom. She'd come home a little bit early, and needless to say, she was not impressed with our strategic parties that we had been having for months at a time. And we were laughing about that. We were texting each other, and I think my mom literally drove everybody home that night because they were all supposed to sleep over at my house, and that was definitely an awkward situation.
That's
I think
fantastic.
There were like 5 of us in your mom's car. Like, I think I was in the front seat sitting on someone's lap.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And like, then I'm trying to explain to my mom why I'm home.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I told her, but yeah.
That's really
my
good.
mom ever ratted us out though. Or ratted you guys out. I don't think she called the parents.
So she just dispersed the party. Were you in deep trouble for a long time? Did you?
Amazingly, I wasn't. At least I don't remember that. I mean, maybe that's selective memory. I don't remember that piece. I mean, I do remember she taking everybody home and me having to make sure that the house was clean. But I know I had parties after.
Well, that's
that.
what I've...
So it clearly didn't, impact me that much.
And did you become more covert? Did you have more watch guards?
We did get a little bit better. I think we were much more, we had to keep the parties small and keep it very intimate on who got invited. And, we were talking about this before the program, having Casey, poor Casey, who looked the oldest of the three of us. She was the one who would get to go buy beer at our little Super America right down by our house and dress up in my mom's clothes. Looked very conservative, and I think we ended up then just having much smaller parties. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. You think about the silly things we did.
Casey,
yeah, go ahead.
How was it easy to buy beer?
Yeah, so you have to understand, Jennifer lived in Uptown at the time.
Yeah.
So that was super, super cool. Her mom, they had this super awesome townhouse in Uptown, right kind of by Lake Calhoun. So we always wanted to go down there because it was boring in the burbs, right? Mm-hmm. And Jennifer and her mom had this amazing fashion sense. And so I remember going into her mom's, you had the best closet, had the best clothes. And so, I couldn't go buy beer wearing teenage clothes, right? So I would dress up in her clothes. And I think we decided earlier that the drinking age was 19 at the time. So if you're 15 or 16 going to Super America to buy it, wasn't that big of a deal at all.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Beer, I know.
Yeah, I mean I had something that I was thinking of. Oh, the thing about hosting a party in high school, like you mentioned, that word got out a little bit. That's you want to have a party and you want all your friends to come, and then people roll up on your party that you don't not even that you don't want them there specifically, but you're like, oh, well, if they know about this.
Yeah. it's gotten out, and this is not good. Yeah, it definitely is going to end up getting busted. That you definitely don't want. It's one thing to get busted by your parents, another thing to get busted by the cops.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll check in quickly here with our Facebook crew that's logged on. Troy, Finn, and Chad Alt are with us as usual. Some of our regular viewers. Jenny Anderson has joined us. She says hello. Maren Carlson said hi. Patty is on the line here. And Katie Keene is on the line as well, along with Tony Ceruno. So a good mix of our high school friends there. So you guys still keep in touch? What format does that take? And have you found that you're more in touch now during the pandemic than you were before?
And I think we text back and forth. When I travel to Phoenix, I've connected with Jen and her son a few times. And then when Lisa used to live in Boise, used to come and visit much more often. Since you moved, you haven't been around, which has been hard. But yeah, I think just usual stuff, texting and.
Yeah,
That's great.
I visit. Yeah, I've been to Portland. Jen been down. I always seem to have conferences in Phoenix. We actually are supposed to have a conference this spring in Phoenix. But yeah, it seems like conference. Or my dad also lives in Phoenix, which I don't see him often, but when I do, Jen saves me for an evening.
So Lisa, what kind of conference, what kind of work are you doing these days?
I work in higher education and specifically campus recreation. So collegiate recreation is basically just generally a part of student affairs. But a lot of people who don't know higher ed don't kind of understand academics versus non-academics. So basically in student affairs, we are student support for anything non-academic. So everything from orientation or welcome week to financial aid and admissions to the fun stuff, which is what I get to do in campus recreation. So we basically provide opportunities for students to engage with each other, with campus, with our facilities through things like outdoor education and fitness and wellness and aquatics, intramurals. A lot of people are familiar with intramurals and club sports with college. So, so generally those types of programs all kind of fall under my umbrella.
That's fun. I don't work for the university here in Madison, but I'm on campus a lot, and not so much now. But I love it. I take every opportunity I can to go talk to a class or meet people, you know, at the union or whatever. Being on a college campus has like this great energy to it, I think.
Yeah.
There's downfalls of that too, being around kids sometimes, but for the most part, it's really great, right? Like you must love the work if you've moved across the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really good. It is really good work. Now, I mean, Boise State, I worked there for 16 years, and the students are very different. You know, Boise State is a very, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, scrimp and save to be able to afford college. A lot of our students were non-traditional. A lot of our students at Boise State had jobs, needed jobs, had 2 jobs, had kids. At Penn State, it's very different. It's, you know, a lot of, you know, why are you coming to Penn State? My parents came here. There's just a super strong alumni base. And, you know, just for the first time in my career, like we have students who we can't, like, no one needs a job here. I'm like, what? You know, like we've all been working since we were 14, right? You're like, how are there people out there who don't need jobs? But, you know, college students are very different now than when we went to college, and college is a very different experience. And so, yeah, you just kind of have to figure it out and make it as enticing as possible to come and work for you.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about teachers on this series, and you guys were chatting a little bit about it before we were on. Lisa, you don't have access to your yearbook, so apparently you don't remember any of them. But
severe disadvantage there.
Right. So who are the teachers, or what are the classes, or even just experiences from high school that you still draw on, or that still have some sort of an impact on your life? Jennifer, you can go first.
I was going to say, you know, again, we were talking about this beforehand, and I honestly, you could pay me $1 trillion and I couldn't remember a teacher's name to save my life, unfortunately. Not that I didn't have a wonderful experience in school. That for some reason is not something that I've retained. But Casey, Lisa, and I were all a part of DECA, which was a distributive education of Clubs of America. And I still remember my marketing teacher, but I do not remember his name. I can totally picture him, but I can't remember.
What did he look like?
Taller, big, you know, just true Minnesotan, you know, Nordic looking fella. So if you would say that, I think Casey, you thought his name was Mr. Johnson. I would totally go with that. That sounds like it probably was him.
Jan Johansson.
There we go. There we go. But we did go to the state tournament or competition for DECA. And I remember doing a couple of those competitions for that club, and that's really stuck with me. And also when going sophomore year, going to France with French class. Those are the 2 memories that I have of high school that, you know, I'll always remember.
Well, we always like talking about France, but tell me just a little, what is DECA? I didn't do my research before our show.
Oh, that's fine. So it's Distributive Educational Clubs of America. So it's like a business club. So I know that I found it through marketing, was one of my marketing class that I had. And I do, you know, again, not that I totally remember, because remember the first part of our broadcast or podcast was the number of parties we had. So it's all a little bit of a blur.
It's okay. It's kind of fun to make up the memories.
There we go. But I do just remember having, you know, different, marketing and sales competitions, and you'd have to, you know, put together marketing plans, and they would ask you, you know, you were put in front of a panel and they'd put a scenario and you'd have to answer the scenario, and then how well you did, you either won. It was kind of like a debate club, but it was for marketing and sales and business oriented type of career paths. So it was, you know, that was interesting. That was definitely a fun memory that I have.
Did you pursue any work in marketing or sales?
I started my, when I went to the University of Arizona, I started out in business, and that lasted a semester. I think like most kids, I think I had 12 different majors throughout my, my years at school, and ended up in psychology. But, I've been in business all my life, but I have not taken anything from that specifically.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes.
There's always more chapters. How about you, Casey? What do you remember? Do you have a memory of any sort from high school?
Well, yeah, the DECA thing was a big memory. Just to add on to Jennifer's story, is that we got to go to this conference, which was in downtown Minneapolis. So we got to stay in a hotel, and it was maybe 4 days. And I was thinking, I think there may have been one teacher to 50 kids, 30
At
kids.
least.
And we got to stay right on Nicollet Avenue, and we got to do all of these, like Jennifer said, these classes and these presentations. And I remember my presentation, what I did, and I was going to sell hair clips. And so I brought my 50 hair clips downtown Minneapolis and tried to sell hair clips to this panel of people. So that's what was funny about that.
Yeah.
The most thing that I remember about high school was the art department. That's where I felt like I fit in, and I just loved it. Vern and Brad and all those art teachers were just amazing. We were just so lucky to have that entire department. I look back on that, and that is by far my favorite. And that's what speaking of art, I still take art classes, and I take them at the community college here in Portland. And one of my favorite things is being around young people. They completely crack me up. I just laugh the whole time, but yet I still get to take classes and do my thing. So it really has, I left it for many, many years. And now that my kids are older, I'm back into it, which has been really fun. So I thank all of those art teachers back at Hopkins High School. They were amazing.
We're learning, by the way, that the DECA advisor's name was Mr. Olson. So Johnson, very close.
Right.
I was right.
Thanks to Chad Alt for that.
Thank you.
Lisa, what about you? Do you have, if you can't put your finger on a teacher, a class, or a situation?
Yeah, I was on the trip to France, and I would say even before kind of prepping the questions or hearing some of the questions, I do remember, Mr. Bouchard, and my sister had him, and he was he was just a phenomenal teacher. And again, I think it's been said on a couple of shows, you take 40 kids to France, and there's 2 chaperones, and that wouldn't happen anymore. I remember very distinctly being on the bus and going through the Alps, really high stuff, don't fall left, right? So I remember him. I remember, small things from that trip. Definitely I think we were talking over text, and we were talking about that business class, and we got in so much trouble in that class. And I will never forget 2 things. Casey, do you remember having to make an audio commercial for that class? Okay, so we had to make an audio commercial for this class for a business that we had pitched. And Casey was doing a fish store. And I am not kidding you. We were in her bathroom in her house, playing with the water to try to make it sound like water. Literally, we had to do 58 takes because we were laughing so hard. Literally, I don't even know how long it took us to make that thing, but it took forever. And I just remember kneeling in the bathroom with that
Total
water.
props for that.
Remember that.
That's great, though.
I do remember that. And we, because the 3 of us were in that class together, we got into so much
Trouble.
Lisa can tell the story about the trouble that we got into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another time, like, like Casey's just like daydreaming, thinking about art class. I don't know, like daydreaming, just like flicking her pen, just like flicking her pen, flicking her pen, flicking her pen. And all of a sudden, like, I like feel something like on my cheek or something. And I'm like, look down, there's ink everywhere. Literally, there's like a circle of ink from her pen. It's like on me, it's on her. And like, we got in trouble for giggling all the time, but like, you can't hold that in.
No,
No,
that's
you just
ridiculous.
can't. So we actually might have gotten asked to leave that day. Usually we could compose ourselves, but I think we might have gotten asked to leave. It was Mr. Olson.
That's great though, because that's stuff like if the nature of the thing is that you're going to learn about marketing, that's fine, okay. But right, all the stuff you learn it's just incidental to that teamwork and like confidence to do presentations and how to deal with weird rules. And did DECA wear those weird blazers that they had? Was that DECA or was that
Good
VICA?
question.
VICA
I
was.
remember that.
There was like a rack of blazers, I remember, and yeah, it seemed sort of funny
Maybe.
that anyone.
I was
would
going to say,
wear
I
that.
don't remember that, but that doesn't mean that, as we said earlier, I don't have that best of memory on it, but I don't remember that.
Did any of you take typing from Elise Rareup's mom?
I took typing, but I don't know if it was from her mom.
Okay.
Maybe she was the only typing teacher.
I don't know.
Yeah, her name now totally escapes me. Of course, somebody will weigh in on that. But yeah, that was my my homeroom was in the business department, and Mrs.
Oh,
Keller
cool.
was my homeroom teacher. She taught like note hand and short like clerical skills.
Okay.
And Ramon Reyna tells us that DECA had blazers. So there you go.
Okay.
Is Ramon watching?
Ramon is is on the show. Yes, he's
Hi,
watching
Ramon.
the show.
I was in the house.
I think one of my favorite memories of high school is having the suburbs play at our homecoming dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was, I mean, really, that was so cool.
On behalf of the student council, Jason and I say you're
That's
welcome.
right.
Who did you go to the dance with? Did you go with anyone?
No, I think we just went. I just think we went with groups of friends.
Yes.
I don't think there was dates like prom or anything, but we had the best bands. We had many bands that came to our school. We had, suburb. We had another one. I think Jason, you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the Wallets played our senior homecoming, and they were a big band in the Twin Cities at that time.
Yeah.
And the other band that I remember was Ipso Facto, and they were another big band in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. I was just going to say that.
So,
Yeah, we, again, like we were 17, 16, we had no idea. I can only imagine what our budget was. It had to have been, we had to have paid like $3,000.
I think it was less. I was involved in some of that. I think it was really cheap, but I think a lot of us knew it was cool music. Maybe for the next reunion, we can have a live band. Hint, hint. Anyhow.
Right.
Okay, so it's time for the regular pandemic question.
Right.
Which is there anything new or old or unusual that you are doing in the pandemic that you want to share? And it's okay if it's no.
I'll start. I mean, like I mentioned, I have 2 teenage boys, so all I do is pretty much feed them. So, and I like to cook, and so I really upped my game. So I bought a pasta press. So my older son and I have been trying to perfect homemade pasta. It's been really, really fun, and we've had to tweak and change our recipe, but it's kind of a very relaxing and rewarding process, and it's been fun for me to do something with my older son. So that has been a pandemic surprise.
That reminds me of my pandemic noodle story. Is I have been ordering Russian dumplings from Kashka, which is a really good restaurant in Portland. Do you have been to Kashka?
No.
Oh yeah, you should look it up. They have all sorts of Russian to-go meals, and they have like homemade pelmeni, anyhow, something to look forward to when I visit. Okay,
Well,
Jen, what about you? Anything you want to share?
Honestly, not really. I mean, I think the only thing is, when it was, once it finally cooled down, I would take my dogs for 2 or 3 walks a day. But besides that, honestly, it's, I've always worked from home. So that hasn't really impacted me at all. I do have my son who, because of, has been remote learning. But honestly, he's the easiest kid in the world. So I really don't have to deal anything, with supervising or making sure that he's doing okay. So it's really not been that much of an impact for me, quite frankly.
Wait, I want to ask something that is so unusual. The easiest son and child in the world. What did you call him? Tell us this nice story about
Honestly, I swear I'm the luckiest mom ever. He is so easy to deal with. He's totally laid back. He's a great student. He's into athletics. He's got friends. He never, kind of pushes boundaries on anything. Kind of funny going back to a party story. I guess it was September. They were going to have their first party, and a friend of a friend kind of a thing. And he had his little friend come over, and they were going to sleep over, and I was going to take them to the party. Nothing quite like having your mom drive you to parties. And I said, whatever you do, if the cops come, don't run from the cops. Just sit down, call me, I'll come pick you up. Okay, so 20 minutes later, he calls and said, the cops are on the way, I've got to come pick me up. So I literally, went by to pick him up, and, then I took him to like 3 different parties, and they were all totally ridiculous dud parties. And I'm like, honey, he's like, this isn't even fun. I don't understand why, I was like, well, part of you guys need to get your stuff together. I mean, how can you not be more organized on what you need to do? So honestly, he's like such a total, a newbie when it comes to things like that, especially with me. It's kind of funny, but no, he's great. I'm really, really lucky when it comes to him. He's a great kid.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Jenny's gonna see this and then be like, "Oh, mom goes out on a date. Like, maybe
wait a second,
a little something here."
Lisa, what about you? What's your COVID hobby?
Yeah, I think early on, I wanted to perfect the yoga headstand. So, I don't know. I did that for a while, and then COVID dragged on for a long time. And I spend so much time, because I'm remote and have been for 10 months now. I spend so much time on Zoom or Teams that I just needed like a different focus. I mean, I go outside a lot and do a lot of yard work and gardening and all that stuff, but I actually just like picked up knitting again, which sounds so geeky. I know, Marnie, I felt so much better when you're like, I knitted this sweater. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never knit a sweater.
You can.
I'm just like, it's like something I can do and like listen to a podcast or listen, but not have to pay attention. Like, I don't want to watch the TV or whatever. I can watch a game or listen to a game or something. So I'm on my second scarf. So.
Well, I have to tell you something. Sweaters are in reach, because I'm going to send you a pattern. There's a way to knit 2 rectangles and you sew them together. And it's really about the pattern. And if you can knit 2 scarves, you definitely can knit a sweater.
Oh, there's hope
I
for me
knit
yet.
every day. I'm using, and I will send you one of the cool things about the West. I know it happens in the East, but I watch a lot of yarn porn. That's what I call it. Just like women who are like shearing sheep and spinning it and dyeing it with their own plants from their garden. And
wow.
And Lisa, watch out for your inbox.
All right. Well, I think I'm on to a beanie next, but maybe
Penn State is an agricultural college, right? There's got to be sheep there somewhere.
I'm sure there are.
Watch out. I just have to say that we have joined this some of the podcasts have touched on this. We have broken out the first jigsaw puzzle of COVID-19 in my house this week. I can't believe we held off for this
Yeah.
long. And it's a really interesting like dynamic between my wife and me on doing this thing. Cause now it's like, don't sit down here for an hour and a half and just chug away at this thing. You know, like I want to get in on it as well. Like, but yeah, something's going on. Somebody's going to be spending time at that dining room table and it's like,
Right.
it's too much. Yeah.
Lisa, do you have cats at all?
No, we have 2 dogs. It's remarkable that no one has had a barking attack since we started. I'm always like, mute.
That's the worst part, cats and knitting. So you're one up on me.
Okay, good to know. Well, dogs and Zoom are not a good combination in the middle of the day when like the UPS person comes or I don't know, a bird flies by or something. We got a second dog in August and he's definitely very alert. Lets us know what's going on outside.
Okay, I'm gonna break out a new question, Jason. Watch out.
Do it. All right.
So this isn't hard. When the pandemic is over and the 3 of you can get together again in person, what are you gonna do? And where are you gonna go? Or you can make a plan right here and we can zoom in with you. I'm joking.
It has to be somewhere warm. It has to be somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are all welcome to come here. That's for sure.
I
It's
love,
not a vacation.
I love Arizona, so maybe a trip to Arizona.
There we go.
Maybe.
Hit the Grand Canyon, go up to Sedona, do some
Yeah.
hiking.
We had a whole trip with the 4 of us. We were going to fly into Vegas and then do Grand Canyon this spring break, but obviously we had to cancel. So yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
We'll make it a plan.
Have
I
you
feel like
have you
we're
gone-
zeroing in on this like late summer period of a return to normalcy. And like, I'm just now hearing like the beginnings of planning of parties. And I'm like, I sort of feel like August is going to be like when you were 24 and like every weekend was a different wedding, you know, like it's just going to be a nonstop cavalcade of people getting wrecked all the time. Like,
I got an invite last week for a Christmas party 2021.
get on the
Wow.
calendar now.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. Like I'm a planner, but that is crazy. I think
It's-
I would still be sketched out. Like, I don't know, when you're like, it's gonna be a party every weekend. I'm like, I don't know.
I think
don't
so
know.
too. People won't be all the way back, but yeah, it's a guy I know just moved into a new house and he's like, I have a deck and bands can play on it. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take the vaccine because of my health issues. So I'm like, well, what does that mean? You know, so like, I think it's,
True.
I don't know if it's going to be one weekend of parties. I think it might be like a slow, slow opening, but that's a little.
Gotcha.
How's the peanut gallery going, Jason? They've been quiet.
They've quieted down a little bit. John Babcock has just said hello. Ramon, of course, says hello. There's been talk of bands, but yeah, they've sort of. Amy Opog is here, and yeah,
Patty
Tony
is not-
Burback has weighed in. So
Patty has
Um,
not chimed in with the most embarrassing stories we haven't heard. It's okay.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Sure, she's got them.
Marnie, do you want to preview who we've got coming up on the show?
No, you have to. Next week we have Troy Finn. Amazing. I'm so excited. And the rest is going to be a big surprise, but we are booked through February 19th. We know all of you who haven't signed up yet. And I also put on, so Jason,
Yep,
your birthday is on February 9th,
6.
6th, and you're going to be 50 again?
50 wonderful.
No, I'm fine. I'm owning it. Yeah,
Okay, 50, wonderful.
50 wonderful.
But we have great shows. We're going to keep going. I am planning my 50th birthday party on the show in May.
Yeah, you guys didn't know. Everybody, like, that's a good question too. Did you guys turn 50 during the pandemic or before the pandemic?
I
Before.
was before.
Yeah, last year.
All before, yeah.
Did you all have big raging parties for it?
Okay, I want to hear.
I was gonna say, I had 50th birthday. I went to Aruba. We did a girls trip and went to Aruba for 10 days, and it was spectacular. If anybody ever has the opportunity to go, whatever you do, figure out a way to get there. It is absolutely fantastic. It was my sister and a friend of hers. So it was just the four of us, and then my good friend from college, Kristen. The four of us went. And we just, my sister works for ASU, but she also teaches yoga at one of the resorts here in town and gets a discount at all Marriott and Ritz-Carlton properties in the world. So we got like this 2-room suite for 10 days for like $600 a person. It was absolutely amazing at the Ritz-Carlton, which again, if you can do that, it's incredible too. And it was absolutely fantastic. So we just, we danced and we hung out on the beach, and it was fantastic. Yeah. So that was the way I rung it in. Yeah.
Okay,
That's pretty good.
What did you do?
Oh, my 50th birthday was like our last hurrah. That's what I say. So I booked a beautiful house in Walport, Oregon, which is right on the coast. And so I had 22 of women that live around me, and we just spent the whole weekend there, and we had the best time. But it was the last hurrah. It was like the first, my birthday's in January, but we went the first weekend of February, and it was awesome. Had a great time.
Okay, Casey, my dream is to have my 50th birthday also on the beach in Oregon, so I will send you the date.
This house that I rented is spectacular. So I will send you the details. I mean, it's a splurge, but it's your 50th, so you should splurge.
Right. And I have 50 days to celebrate it. Okay, how about you, Lisa? What did you do for yourself?
We just took a trip to the Outer Banks. We have at that point only had one dog, and he's very elderly, so car trip, which was a long time in the car. But when you move away from all of your friends, you don't really make a lot of friends rapidly. And so it was just my wife and I and our dog, and we had a condo on the beach, and it was great. It was, my birthday's in November, and it was right after Thanksgiving. So we had Thanksgiving there and watched the dirty stinking Badgers beat the Gophers.
And known to happen.
Yeah, but it was after Minnesota beat Penn State, which I was super excited about. So it was just a nice like family time, kind of on the beach, checking out a couple of breweries. And I mean, it's, shoulder season there. Like people talk about the summer in the Outer Banks and like 2 hours to get across the bridge. And I'm like, would that even be worth it? I guess I'm sure it is, but for us, it was, it was not warm. It wasn't sit on the beach weather, but you could, walk on the beach and go mess around in town. It was pretty cool.
Well, I support all your beach related birthday parties. That's
Definitely
where I want to be.
So we have a last minute question coming in. Patty Hagery wants us to ask Lisa about the Moped Arrest.
Oh my gosh. Patty and I have been friends a long time. Yeah. A lot of times I call Patty my oldest friend, although there's been talk about Mike Mitchell on this show.
Yeah.
I bet if I found a picture from my first grade birthday, Mike Mitchell would have been there. Like
really?
our families were friends or something. Like he was a part of me growing up for sure. But yeah, Patty and I had a moped. I don't know how old I was. I had probably had it from like 13 on, and we would always zip around town. We would zip up to Patty's house and zip around town. And one night it was pretty chilly, but we went to the Dairy Queen, the Dairy Queen in Hopkins. And I got busted by a cop for not having an adequate license to apparently drive a moped. And literally we got like all down to the cop shop in Hopkins and had to call my mom, who was not impressed at all. So I don't know what had I'm sure the moped got impounded or something, like, someone had to go pick it up the next day. But yeah, we had to call my mom, or somebody had to call my mom, or the cops called my mom, and she came and picked us up. And she was not very happy that we had gotten pulled over.
Moped crime. That's
Yeah,
sure that was
Right,
one of the worst things
actually-
going on in downtown Hopkins on that particular.
exactly.
Come on.
Is there anything else that we haven't asked you that you want to share with each other or the entire world?
I have a question for you all. Like, you've been doing this for a while, episode 33 here, but like, what has surprised you?
Oh, for me, it's not necessarily surprise, but it's like it makes me feel really good that we talk to people, and every time they've got, interesting things going on, they're people are doing cool things. They're, even if it's not like, hey, I'm kicking ass at my career, it's something that they're doing. They've got, people are happy, people are, in touch with each other. And maybe that's just the nature of the people who agreed to come on, right? That are like, that's fine. But it's just, I guess it's filling this need that Marnie and I talked about at the very beginning. You make these connections. We wanted to reach out and make connections with all these people that we grew up with, and just check in and see how everything's going. And every week it's just been like, wow, that's really cool. It's in some cases inspiring. It just makes you feel really happy that like people are out, getting it done, raising cool kids, doing cool things for their work, doing cool things with their free time, doing cool volunteer things, whatever, over and over. So that's just been every week that just gets reinforced, I think, over and over again.
Cool.
The best high school class in the history of high schools is what
Sure.
we
There you
say.
go.
Marnie?
For me, I appreciate that people are sharing their memories of something that happened so long ago. So that's kind of intimate.
Yep.
So I appreciate people sharing with the world, and it kind of gets to like this commonality that we have, that we were in this gigantic high school. It's gigantic to me, and that we shared something in the 1980s together. And even though like I don't remember ever speaking to you, Jen, in high school, maybe we didn't, like I really appreciate your memories and your connections. And I'd say the other part is I really am interested in people's friendships.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we care about each other. That's a cool thing, that we've got this big group of kids from high school, and we all have these little linkages, and some are stronger than others. But I think that people have illustrated that there is this caring that we have for one another, and that makes you feel good, and that's what we need. We need more of that. So it's been great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would say one other thing, because Jason was dwelling on the cool. Some of the guests in the booking talk are like, well, I might be too boring to come on the show.
Yeah.
And so like, I actually appreciate people just being willing to come on and be themselves.
Yep.
And like, we're not all Secretary of State of Minnesota or, this or that, but, people being willing to share themselves and just who they are. And I think we've all been respectful of each other. And so I'm really happy about that. That's why I'm really excited to talk to Troy Finn next week, because I don't remember ever talking to him.
It's going to be
So
good.
Troy, I'm ready.
We're ready, Troy. Right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I hope you're all enjoying the holiday season. I hope everybody has a happy new year.
And thank you so much for doing this. I mean, I don't think I knew either of you well in high school, and I feel like I know you better now just from watching and listening, and it's just a sincere appreciation for you bringing our class together, because like I'm hearing stories of things that, you know, were pretty much locked away somewhere, you know, and just, you know, like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, so it's just really cool to see people and see the friendship that you both have with each other, but the people that come on too and their friendships. So you're doing a great service to our class. And I hope I speak for everyone with just everyone who's been on or will be on. Is just a thank you for keeping our class as fantastic now as it ever has been.
Right.
You are welcome. Happy New Year to everyone. Be safe. I'm going to send you some knitting issues.
Appreciate that.
Spread the joy of knitting for sure. All right. Happy New Year, you guys.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.